Time is now 7:30 p.m. I almost crashed my computer, but I didn't. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Old Bridge Township Zoning Board of Adjustment, April 20, 2023. I'm James Sullivan, as chairman of the board. I'd ask you now to join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of our country. I pledge allegiance to the
flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation,
under God, indivisible,
with
with
liberty and justice
for all.
Adequate notice of this meeting of the Old Bridge Township Zoning Board of Adjustment has been provided in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act at least 48 hours prior to the commencement of this meeting. By prominently posting in the municipal complex an announcement giving the time, the date, the location, the agenda of this meeting, also by mailing such announcement to the Home News and Tribune, filing a copy of such announcement with the municipal clerk, and posting the agenda of this meeting on the municipal website. Ms. C, could we have a roll call, please?
Chairman Sullivan.
Here.
Mr. Connor.
Here.
Mr. Stoner.
Here.
Ms. Chevalier is absent. Mr. Scogno.
Here.
Ms. Andrews.
Here.
Ms. Testaverde.
Here.
Mr. Izzo.
Here.
Ms. Barron is absent. Mr. Clancy.
Present.
Mr. Gill.
Here.
Ms. Sawant.
Here.
Myself, Ms. C. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. C. This meeting is being conducted electronically via webinar. And it takes patience on all of the involved participants because we're not gathered in the municipal building tonight. We're doing so from our own homes or home offices. Meeting is simultaneously being televised by OBTV Channel 15, as well as YouTube Live. I remind anyone watching on any device that there's up to a 30-second delay in communication. This is an important factor to remember if you wish to personally join the meeting portion when we have open questions. Anyone calling in, please remember to lower the device that you're watching us on, or you'll be confused by that time delay. I would also ask all participants at this point to please silence your cell phones to avoid any disturbances through the meeting. The meeting follows the same protocols as if just whoever mic is that, could you close it off, please? There's some general housekeeping matters to cover tonight, followed by 5 homeowner applications. I don't think there'll be a necessary break because we don't have any stenographers tonight. But should we have to take a recess, we will alert you at home and give you full warning, and then we'll come back and finish up the meeting. As I said, in all applications, there's a public portion that follows testimony. If you have particular interest in any of the applications this evening and you wish to ask questions or speak to the board about it, I suggest that you take notes during the presentation so you will refresh your memory when you call in. So now is a perfect time to grab a piece of paper and a pen or pencil. Ms. C, would you fill in the blanks of anything that I may have missed?
Sure. Just a few reminders. The zoning board members will be unmuted during the first half of the meeting when they will be required to vote on other agenda items. The zoning board attorney, chairman, and secretary will remain unmuted throughout the meeting. Everyone else will be muted. Once presentation for an application begins, the applicant's professionals will be asked to turn on their video and unmute themselves in the order in which they will testify. For the public, I will announce the last 4 digits of the caller's phone number to come forward and announce their name and address. I will also announce the last 4 digits of the next caller's phone number so that they can be prepared. We will share our screen to display any exhibits. The meeting information will be displayed on the screen multiple times during the meeting so that any resident who wishes to call and enjoy the meeting can do so. Please be patient. You will have an opportunity to speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. C. Welcome all board members, all participants, and township officials. We do have quite a bit of work to cover this evening, so I'd ask everybody to be in a cooperative spirit. Mr. Brian Clancy, Esquires of counsel tonight for the board. Good evening, sir. We're going to go by the agenda this evening, and item 3 is minutes. So board members, this affects us. I'm going to speak as to the minutes of February 2nd, 2023. Hopefully everyone has had a chance to review. I'd ask someone upon that to move in for adoption.
Connor, motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second, Testaverde.
Ms. Testaverde has second. Roll call, please, Ms. C.
Mr. Connor,
Yes.
Mr. Stoner,
Yes.
Mr. Scogno,
Yes.
Miss Andrews,
Yes.
Miss Testaverde,
yes,
Mr. Izzo,
Yes.
Chairman Sullivan.
Yes, board members, the same applies. Minutes of February 16, 2023 meeting. Someone move those for adoption, please.
I'll move it, Stoner.
Is there a second?
Izzo, second.
Mr. Rizzo seconds. Roll call, please.
Mr. Connor,
Yes.
Mr. Stoner,
Yes.
Mr. Scogno,
Yes. Yes.
Miss Andrews,
Yes.
Miss Testaverde,
yes,
Mr. Izzo,
Yes.
Chairman Sullivan.
Yes, that moves us to item number 4 on the agenda. It's resolutions. There are 3 of them. We'll call them in order. It's 01-2023Z. That's Ani Hamadi, C variance. Mr. Clayton?
Yes, good evening, Chairman. Board members will all receive copies of these in advance. So the first one is application 01-2020-23. This is from our last C variance meeting. It's an application by Awani and Daniela Hamadi for 16 Crabtree Road in Matawan. And they had an application for C variance regarding a shed in their backyard. Testimony was taken and this was approved by the board. Mr. Chairman, this is submitted for a vote for a final approval.
Thank you, Mr. Clancy. Board members, would someone move that for adoption, please, the resolution?
Connor, I'll move it.
Is there a second?
Testaverde, second,
Roll call, please, Ms. C.
Mr. Connor,
Yes.
Mr. Stoner,
Yes.
Mr. Scogno,
Yes.
Miss Andrews,
Yes.
Miss Testaverde,
yes,
Mr. Izzo,
Yes.
Chairman Sullivan.
Yes. 07-2023Z, it's Mykola Rebashenko, another C variance. Mr. Clancy?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is the application again that we heard our last C variance meeting on March 16th of this year. This is for the property at 1284 Englishtown Road, and this was a variance involving patio paver blocks on the front and alongside the house, requesting variance relief. Copies of this ordinance, or this resolution rather, was provided to the board in advance of tonight's meeting for review. The board did vote on it after hearing testimony and did approve it with the attached and enumerated conditions and restrictions. Submitted for approval, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Counselor. Board members, someone move that for adoption, please.
I'll move it, Stoner.
Is there a second?
Izzo?
Roll call, please.
Mr. Connor,
Yes.
Mr. Stoner,
Yes.
Mr. Scogno,
Yes.
Miss Andrews,
Yes.
Miss Testaverde,
yes,
Mr. Izzo,
Yes.
Chairman Sullivan.
Yes. The final one is 08-2023Z, Dennis Smirnov and Asaya Akatova, another C variance. Mr. Clancy?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, again, copies of these were provided to board members in advance of tonight for review. This involves from our last C variance meeting back on March 16th, the application for 152 Gold Mine Lane there in Old Bridge. And this was an application for an installation of a deck that required variance relief. Board heard testimony and did vote to approve this with the attached restrictions and conditions enumerated in the resolution. This is submitted for approval, final approval tonight, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Clancy. Board members, you've heard it. Someone move it for adoption, please.
Connor, motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second, Stoner.
Thank you both. Roll call, please.
Mr. Connor,
Yes.
Mr. Stoner,
Yes.
Mr. Scogno,
Yes.
Miss Andrews,
Yes.
Miss Testaverde,
yes,
Mr. Izzo,
Yes.
Chairman Sullivan.
Yes. That brings us to item 5 on the agenda this evening. It's a completeness waiver, and we have but one, and I'm going to read that into the record right now. This is a memorandum from Venus Sawant, the Township Planner, to the board. The date, March 30, 2023, reference Abiello and Elizabeth Teixeira. This application 60-2022Z, block 24204, lot 26. This is a D variance request. Subject property known as block 24204, lot 26 is located at 2075 Englishtown Road in the low density Severe environmental constraints residential R120 zone. The property contains a one-story masonry building surrounded by gravel parking areas. Fencing extends from the building on both sides, and approximately 20 trailers and other storage materials are located in the rear and side gravel areas. The remainder of the parcel is covered with brush and trees that have been verified as freshwater wetlands as delineated by NJDEP on the letter of interpretation submitted by the applicant. The applicant is seeking a D1 use variance to demolish the existing 855 square foot building and construct a 6,500 square foot storage building to store construction equipment and supplies. Ms. Sawant continues, our office has reviewed the waiver request by the applicant for the following items: environmental impact statement, traffic impact statement, aquifer recharge assessment, and stormwater report. The applicant has filed a bifurcated use application. The applicant proposes to demolish the existing building and construct a larger building to continue storing construction equipment and supplies. General warehousing, excluding mini warehousing, is not permitted use in the R120 zone. Therefore, D1 use variance is required. At this time, the applicant seeks D1 use variance relief for the proposed storage area. Along with the storage building, proposed site improvements include 10 off-street parking, removal of existing trailers, new fence with a gate, landscaping. Should the board act favorably on the use variance, the applicant would subsequently file a major preliminary and final site plan submission for the board's consideration of proposed site improvements. Our office recommends that all items listed above be waived for the purpose of reviewing the use variance. The applicant has submitted a community impact statement to address impacts, if any, of the proposed application. The applicant has indicated that should the board act favorably on the application, the applicant would provide any of the above items as applicable at the time of site plan submission. Applicant should be advised waiving of any completeness items does not constitute approval of any portion of the application, that any information found to be necessary during the review process must be supplied. I believe the George Pressler Esquire is representing. I don't see him here. Is there anyone that wants to be heard on the matter? On the
Chairman Sullivan, I see Ms. Teixeira,
Okay.
and she will answer any questions. But before I hand it over to her, I just want to say that I believe Ms. Teixeira has been the owner of the property since approximately 2009. What happened is the code enforcement office noticed that there were significant trailers and outdoor storage being conducted on the property, and this was almost two and a half years ago. A notice of violation was issued, and they were informed that for any sort of outdoor storage, they would need zoning board approval, especially because this property is within the R120 zone where commercial is not permitted. She and her team has been working with us. They met us at a pre-application meeting, and because of the existence of wetlands, there was significant work they had to do in terms of getting the LOI and getting the freshwater wetlands mapped. So we suggested that they cease any operation on the property and seek for a use variance and a site plan, knowing the issues on the site. And because it's in a residential zone, I suggested to the applicant that they pursue a bifurcated application. So before they get into site plan, I thought it was best for them to come in for the use. Should the board approve the use, then they could come back with the site plan approval. So the waivers that are sought tonight are actually related more to the site plan, not with the use variance. I know that in the last few months, they have got the freshwater wetlands delineated, and LOI was submitted to my office. So they have been working towards it. It's just that we don't believe that these items are necessary for the use variance. So that's basically the summary for the project. And now with the construction of 6,500 square feet building, Mr. Shara intends to get rid of the trailers that are parked on the side, have just regular 10 parking spaces, and all the outdoor storage that is now in open would be then housed in the building.
Thank you, Ms. Solon, for the explanation. Mr. Teixeira, is there anything you wanted to put on the record at this point?
I don't really have anything. Everything was written. Everything you read is everything we intend to do. Mr. Pressler is not able to be on here. That's why I'm representing myself. I don't know if you have any questions for me.
No, it's pretty self-explanatory. I'm going to ask the board if they have any questions, but we're only at a waiver here, and those items are understandably, they can be waived, and they could be asked for later on, and that's all written in the memo. So it's fairly straightforward. But thank you for your comments. Board members, before I ask for a vote, is there anyone that has a question? You can raise your hand. It would appear that no one from the board has a question. So I'm going to ask someone, would they be in favor of allowing the waiver? Please raise your hand or open your mic. Is that who? Mr. Stoner?
Izzo.
Mr. Izzo? Okay. Is there a second?
Connor, I'll second.
Mr. Connor,
Yes.
Mr. Stoner,
Ben, we lost you, I think. But you can continue the roll call.
Mr. Scogno,
For the waivers, yes.
Miss Andrews. Miss Andrews, you're muted.
Sorry, yes.
Ms. Testaverde,
Yes.
Mr. Izzo,
Yes.
Chairman Sullivan.
Yes. All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Teixeira.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
All right, we're going to move forward. That is all I have. Missy, you didn't add anything other than what I have on the agenda, right?
No, that's all.
Okay, very good. So board members, we're going to go into the applications at this point, and those people who are here, I'm going to give a general explanation, and I'll remind you when we call each one. These are homeowner applications for variances, and they're a little bit different than we handle as in what we were speaking about a use variance, which usually requires professionals. I don't think any of you here tonight have any professionals that are going to be speaking. If there is, that's fine, they can. But what we need you to do, the first thing will happen, we'll call the application. We'll find out who is going to be representing or who's going to be speaking. The board attorney will swear the witnesses in. At that point, we would ask you to explain to the board why you're before us. What is it that you want to do? How are you going to do it? Or if you did it, why did you do it? And how you're going to correct it? So it's fairly simple. You may have questions for us. We may have questions for you. After each application, before we call for a vote, we have a public portion in which time people can call in and weigh in on the application. It might be your neighbors, it might be another interested party, and there might be no one. We'll find that out when that happens. So that's basically what goes on for those people who wouldn't be familiar with this. I would also inform you that once you're done, you're free to hang out if you want and stay with the meeting, but we would ask you to silence make sure that your microphone is silenced. This is a public meeting, so you could watch it on TV and you can stay with us, but there's no need for you to stay. We won't have any further business with you. All right, having said all of that, I'm going to call the first application. It's in order as they are on the agenda. 11-2023Z. It's Yuri Popovich. This is the low-density severe environmental constraint residential R120. This is block 22001.14 lot 31, 106 McCormick Avenue South for an in-ground pool. Applicant proposes to install an in-ground pool in the rear yard of their property. Is someone, Mr. Popovich, I see you over there. Okay, so
Yes,
are
sir.
you going to be the only one that's going to be testifying, sir?
Yes, I have here the specialist who will help me because my English is not natural, so I'm sorry if
No, that's okay. But if two people are going to be speaking, then Mr. Clancy, the board attorney, has to swear both of you in. So he'll take over at this point, and then we'll get back to you.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, good evening, Mr. Popovich. And you said somebody was there with you physically present, is that right?
That's right. It's Mr. Michael Paniotto. He has a problem with the video, but he participates. So he just asked me to tell somebody to let him going on because he cannot.
I see him. I'm gonna raise him to a panelist. Hold on one second.
Okay, yeah, that might be the easiest way to do it.
Thank you.
Okay, he should be in now.
Yeah, I see him on the screen.
Hello, everybody. Can you see me?
There we go.
Okay,
There we go. Hi, how's everybody?
good, sir.
Great.
All right, so, go ahead.
Mr. Popovich is going to be testifying, and it's my understanding you're going to be helping him out, maybe with some translation and potentially some additional testimony.
So I am I'm part of the pool company that's building the pool for him. And
Oh,
so
okay.
I'm not with the variance and because I know what's going on the property, just you'll be asking me the questions and I'll be able to help facilitate this.
Okay, so I'd ask you and Mr. Popovich to raise your right hand. Do you swear that any testimony that you provide before this board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Mr. Popovich?
I do.
Okay, and then maybe Michael, can you go first and just state your name for the record?
My name is Michael Paniotto.
Okay, and Mr. Popovich, can you just state your full name for the record?
My name is Yuri Popovich.
Okay, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you very much, both. Michael, I just have one question. You are going, if you're testifying, you're going to be testifying as you said, it's a pool company that you work for or own? Or?
So my company is Pool Town, and we are basically planning the swimming pool in the backyard. I know there was some lot coverage implications, and we got a denial. And I was asked to help join the meeting because I know that Yuri is supposed to be doing the variance, and I'm just helping guide through the process.
Okay, Mr. Popovich, as I said, why don't we start with you? You want to install a pool, is that correct?
That's right.
Okay, and you're going to put that on your property, in the rear of the property, right?
That's correct.
And I believe because of what you're doing, you've minimized the landscape area ratios, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right.
Okay. Mr. Can you say your last name, Michael?
Paniotto.
Paniotto. Could you tell the board how big the pool is, where it's going to be located? I know we have a survey of it. We see it kind of in a drawing.
Yes.
Why don't you
Yeah.
explain to us what's going on?
I'm pulling that information up for you right now. So this pool is going to be a 12 by 15 by 24. So the 15 is the longest width on the pool. The 12 is the average width, and then the length is going to be 24. And then there's a little sun deck area that pops out 4 feet from the opening of the pool. It creates a little bit of a larger impression that the pool is going to be making on the property. To my understanding, the reason why we are applying for the variance is because of lot coverage implications.
That is true.
Okay. So I know that that Mr. Popovich is trying to get this exact layout done in the backyard. I know that there's very it's going to be limited disturbance, but the area that's around is going to be a little bit more than what the township calls for as far as lot coverage is concerned.
All right. Let me ask Mr. Popovich. Sir, you have a fenced-in backyard, I would assume?
Oh, of course.
Okay. And what is to the rear of your property, behind the fence?
Behind the fence, we have a forest.
It's what, sir?
It's a forest, if I understand correct. Behind my property is forest.
Right. So there's no homes that are going to be built back there?
No,
correct?
no.
But there's a home on each side of your property, right?
That's right.
Okay. And the reason you want to put this pool in is for the pleasure of your family, I would assume?
Of course, yeah, it's
And you're not going to be building any other structures back there, correct?
no.
All right, why don't we go, what I'm going to do, Mr. Gill is here, he's the township zoning officer. We're going to ask him what the situation is, and we'll see what the board has to say. Mr. Gill.
Chairman, thank you. Good evening. Good evening, members of the board and the general public. I am the troublemaker who has Mr. Popovich here this evening. I'll bring to the attention of the board a key fact that is, I think, Germane to this application, and that is McCormick Avenue, 106 McCormick Avenue South is part of the Woodhaven Reserve development. And one of the issues that we've identified that has nothing to do with Mr. Popovich or his property, and isn't necessarily a problem, but is a condition that exists, is that the homes received variances to build up to 30% lot coverage, and is based on a gross development plan that was developed in the early 80s. We have since changed our ordinance, and it's morphed from a lot coverage limitation, which included building coverages, the square footage of the building or the footprint of the building, and impervious coverages, the necessary improvements that you would customarily see on a residential home, a driveway, a patio, pools, and the likes, of which that Mr. Popovich is proposing this evening. What we've discovered with the Woodhaven Reserve is that there is a disconnect between the bridging of the 1983, 1985 codes that were used to establish these developments and what the standards are today. And that's why really we're here this evening. The applicant's proposal, as I apologize, I don't remember the Pool Town representative's name. Thank you. As he was reflecting, it's a 12 by 24 pool with an average width of 15. I wouldn't say it's a modest pool, but it's a fairly typical size pool with an associated patio area that the plan indicates rough coverage improvement of about 25% for a total lot coverage of 51%, or a landscape area ratio of 51%, where a minimum required is 70%. So there's roughly a 21% deficiency. One of the things that the township is currently working on is revising and potentially rezoning these areas to appropriately reflect the accessory structures that would normally be allowed as part of a single family: pools, sheds, patios, and decks, and things like that. What happened was that these lot coverages, because they contemplate everything, are really limited by the footprint. And most of these homes, just with the footprint of the home and the driveway, either meet or exceed the standards that were previously approved. So any improvement that Mr. Popovich would want to do would necessitate a lot coverage variance. I say that as a way of background to say that the deficiency of 21% is the only condition that's being created this evening. Had these standards been adapted a little bit more appropriately to the size of the lot and what the standards are generally in town for homes of this size, Mr. Popovich's pool would be 100% conforming. There would be no, as there is now, no setback issue. There would be no lot coverage issue. He's certainly bringing it close to the limit, but there wouldn't have been an issue. Right now, we're contemplating a 55% coverage, which is what the 7,000, 7,500 square foot lot homes that these were kind of based off of currently contemplate. So the deficiency is for a landscape area ratio. Unfortunately, there really isn't a lot of room to chop down the lot coverage to minimize the variance condition. The only way to do that would be to reduce the moderate sized patio that he's proposing as part of the pool improvement. But the reality is that the positive impact would likely be negligible, considering what the chairman had elicited from the client already, from the applicant already, that the rear of the property backs up to wetlands and natural protected lands that will likely never be developed or be developable.
Thank you, Mr. Gill, for all that information. And just to reiterate, this is the only variance necessary for the LAR, correct, sir?
That's correct. If the applicant wasn't seeking to do it maybe this season, he would likely not need a variance in the near future as we consider these changes.
And Mr. Gill, as I recall, and the board probably recalls, we've had probably, I think, 3 other applications that come before us dealing with that same issue.
Correct. We've had patios and another pool
right.
that have recently come before us.
Right. So this is not foreign to most of us. We have had this situation come up, and it's obviously going to be amended sometime in the near future. You're saying, Mr. Gill, probably this year?
I mean, certainly it would have to go through the council, and the council has to ultimately approve it. But yeah, we are making those recommendations within the year.
Thank you, sir. Board members, do you have any questions for the applicant or his professional from the pool company? Mr. Scogno, I see your hand.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Will the pool be in the ground halfway? Would you say? Would you dig out and then place the pool in?
So on our plans right here, we don't have any topographical information I could see immediately. Okay, no, hold on a second. So no, I'm looking at the topography report. We're looking at right at grade. So it would not be raised out of the ground. It'd be right at the same elevation as the back of the house.
So then the deck would be at the height of the pool, which is currently what? What's the height?
So
Well, it's a concrete patio. I'm sorry to interject there,
Oh,
but it's a
okay.
concrete patio. There's no deck. There's a sun deck that he was referring to, I believe. But if I'm not mistaken, the sun deck is actually an integral part of the pool, correct?
it's the stairs.
It's the stairs. Yeah. So it's just like a landing that's partially submerged.
Exactly. It's just the second tread is just elongated. That's all it is.
Okay.
So it's basically 6 inches into the pool on the first step. It's covered with water.
So, Michael, if you could just clarify, just so that there's no confusion, my understanding of a sun deck on a pool is actually just a flat surface, which is partially submerged, where you can kind of sit in the water, but it actually sits in the water as opposed to a deck that sits on grade or above grade.
You're exactly right. So this has nothing to do with the patio or anything that's in the implications. This is actually part of the structure of the pool. It is the step of the pool, but we formalize it as the sun deck area. It's so people know that it's not a regular step.
Thank you very much for the explanation. Mr. Scogno, go ahead, you have a follow-up?
What was the height? That was my question of the pool.
Ground level.
So it's gonna be at ground level.
No, the height of the pool,
It's an in-ground pool, sir.
the in-ground pool, so you'll be out ground level.
Yes.
Correct.
Thank you.
Anybody else from the board, question? All right, Mr. Popovich, I'm going to go to the public portion at this time, unless you or Michael have anything else that you want to add at this point. Mr. Popovich, you have anything you want to add at this point?
No, sir, actually, you hear
Michael,
about everything.
well, I have to, but by regulation,
understand.
at least have a public portion. So we'll see if anybody has any comments. Okay, that's all right with you?
Yep.
Okay. This matter is now open to the public. There in front of you on however you're watching, there's phone numbers on there. You can call any one of those numbers to be connected live with the board for your questions. Once again, this is a matter at 106 McCormick Avenue South for an in-ground pool. The problem there is that because of the restrictions, it's a deficient in landscape area ratio. So if you have a comment or question on this matter, please call in now, because this matter will be probably settled this evening. So there wouldn't be another time to call in. Ms. C, do we have anyone in queue at present?
There are no raised hands.
Okay. I think we'll just give it a little bit longer so people may have to get their phone or copy a number down. But as I said, if you're watching at home, you have any comment on this matter, now is the time to call one of the phone numbers on there and be connected directly to the board. Mr. Clancy, your legal opinion on time?
Yeah, we've given them over a minute. We have the numbers posted on the screen here. The Z indicates that nobody has rung in. I believe we're probably safe to close the public comment at this point if we have nobody.
Thank you, Mr. Clancy. Ms. C, is anyone called?
Nope.
Okay, thank you. This public portion is going to be closed on this matter. We'll come back to the board. Board members, absent any final questions, I'm going to ask Michael, you have any final comments that you want the board to hear?
Not at all.
Okay, and Mr. Popovich, is there any final comments that you'd like to make?
No, sir, I'm okay.
Okay, we've heard what this is. It's the matter of the landscape area ratio. We've had similar actions that have come before the board. At this point, I'm going to call for a vote. Mr. Scogno, go ahead first.
What I was referring to, the depth of the pool, 3 feet to what?
Oh, I don't know. Okay.
Sir, do you have that answer?
I'm sorry, I'm not entirely sure what you're referring to. You're talking about the interior depth of the pool?
Yes. What is it going from 3 feet to 8 feet?
No, it's 3 feet to, I believe, 5.5 feet for the size of the pool because it can't go to 8 feet. Yeah, we're gonna be at 6 feet deep.
Oh, 6 feet. Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
One more question.
Mr. Rizzo?
Again, the blueprint is gone. If he's maxed out and should things go his way tonight,
Right.
he wouldn't be able to put a shed. He's gonna kind of tie his hands of adding anything else to his yard, right?
Well, not necessarily. One has
Okay.
nothing to do with the other.
Oh, okay, good, okay.
Chairman, if I may just add a little clarification there.
Yeah, go ahead.
If he puts it over the existing patio, there would be no increase in coverage. So if he's not creating any other variances with setbacks, he'd be able to do that. And if the recommendations we're making to the council go forward, it's actually going to build in an extra 4 or 5% that he'll be able to realize somewhere else on the property.
Play with, yeah, okay.
Thanks, Mr. Gill. That's a good question, Mr. Rizzo. Thank
Thank
you. Someone interested in moving this for approval? This matter?
I'll move it. Izzo,
Okay, is there a second?
Testaverde,
Testaverde seconds, roll call, please.
Mr. Connor,
Yes.
Mr. Stoner,
Yes.
Mr. Scogno,
Yes.
Miss Andrews,
yes.
Miss Testaverde,
Yes.
Mr. Izzo,
yes.
Chairman Sullivan.
Yes, it's great when people improve on their homes. I wish you the best of luck on that. There'll be a resolution on this for you, probably in a couple of weeks, Mr. Clancy.
Absolutely. Should be by the next meeting.
Thank you very much for your appearance, Michael, and for your appearance, Mr. Pavlovich.
Thank you very much to you and the board. I appreciate it.
Okay, the
Thank
matter
you,
has
thank
been
you.
approved.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Okay. You're free to leave if you so choose. Next matter is 12-2023Z, Kathy Vesey. This is a medium high density residential R9 zone, block 15588, lot 659.11. Physical location is 266 Utica Avenue. This is for a covered patio. This is requiring a C variance. Applicant seeks relief for an existing covered patio. Ms. Bessie, I see you now. Okay, are you going to be the only one that's going to speak this evening? Would you say yes? Because I don't know if your mic is working. Okay, we're not hearing you. So do you have a mute on? Okay. There should be, I don't see, there's a little red mark on the bottom left, and if you don't have it, you should be speaking. If you look on the screens, you'll see the little mark down to the bottom left, that's muted. And if you looked at my picture, I'm unmuted, and you look unmuted. Could you speak again? Is your volume up? Well, you have to speak, I can't.
Sometimes it's useful if you see the mute to push mute and then push it a second time. Sometimes that activates the audio. Can you try that?
Well,
Doesn't look like we're hearing them, Chairman.
no, on your laptop or your computer, there should be a volume control down on your right-hand side, probably on the panel. You could try adjusting that. Or the microphone. I don't think you can call, but I don't know that we're going to be able to do this by phone.
Chairman, I think they can try to call in and then I would just need to raise them to a panelist.
Oh, okay. There you go. There's your solution. Do you have any of the numbers? Okay, we'll wait for your call and then you can, we'll put you in as a panelist.
Does she have the number?
I assume she does, yes.
Okay, can you hear me?
I can. Hold on one second. You're gonna.
Okay.
we gonna make her a panelist, or is she gonna have to still use her phone, right?
Yeah,
Miss-
I'm gonna use my phone. That's the only way you can hear me. I don't know what's wrong. We tried,
Okay,
but it won't unmute me. Sorry.
all right. As I explained before, I saw a gentleman there too. Is he going to be testifying?
No, that
Okay,
was my husband.
Okay, just you?
Just me.
Okay, the board attorney is going to swear you in first.
Okay.
Hey, ma'am, if you would, can you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear that any testimony you provide before this board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay, you can lower your hand and just state your full name for the record, please.
Catherine Vesey?
Ms.
Thank you,
VC,
Catherine.
you live at 266 Utica Avenue?
Yes.
Okay. You're here before the board because to make this a short explanation, I believe you built something in your backyard, a sort of a cover of some sort, and if you have a problem with that, or we have a problem,
Yes.
this is a variance necessary for that, right? Why don't you tell the board?
Correct. Yes. It is a accessory structure, they called it, because it's enclosed partially. It has a roof and it has a back wall and 2 side walls, but the rest is open. The whole thing in the front is open.
And what is the purpose of that? Just for shade?
For shade, because we get 90% sun in our backyard. And we were originally going to do a different cover over our patio, but we weren't able to do that. So that's why we had to build it in the back of our yard. And now it's too close to the fence. We didn't realize it had to be so far away from the fence.
Okay, anything else you want to tell us?
Just that we made it look very pretty. I spoke to all my neighbors, including the neighbor directly behind me, and they said they had no problem with it at all. They actually are going to come over in the summer and swim in our pool with their 2 little twins. And and
You said there's a neighbor to the rear, right?
yep,
And obviously you have a fence around your property.
yes.
Why don't you let me go to Mr. Gill and we'll find out why you're here, okay?
Thank you.
Mr. Gill.
Thank you, Chairman. As Ms. Vesey said, the property was improved with an accessory structure, very similar to a carport in that, it's open on the one side, it has half walls on the side, and it's enclosed in the back. But it's not used for vehicles. It's really just a covered patio area. We did receive a complaint, I believe, Ms. Vesey, was that where this came from? I don't remember off the top of my head, or it came to our attention somehow that this was constructed. And Ms. Vesey came in immediately to try to rectify the issue, not understanding and not realizing that she needed a permit. And it was during the review process that we discovered where it was placed. Her understanding, based on, I guess, anecdotal information that she received either from the contractors or from the neighbors, is that it should be at least 3 feet from the property line. And operating under that assumption, she made this improvement. As it turns out, because of its size, 18 by 18, and it being an accessory structure, it needed to be 10 feet from the property line. And the first thing we did was discuss over several meetings how we could rectify this structure and how we could make it compliant, because that's always our goal in the zoning office, to figure out how we can get compliance before we explore variance routes, because we all know that variances are supposed to be for special situations. Upon discussing it and looking at her site, if the board has had the opportunity to review the survey, you'll see that there's an above ground pool that was already on the property, and it was permitted. To make the structure compliant, which she was willing to move, she would have to move it such that it would be in direct conflict with the pool. It would either be right up against the pool or actually encroach on where the pool is, which would have required her to restructure the entire yard. At that point, it seemed obvious that the only real options for her, the practical options, was to either demolish the structure and reconstruct it smaller, or to attempt to solicit a variance, considering the improvements that she's made and how attractive it was, and considering she had spoken with her neighbors and they all seemed satisfied, she thought this was the best route. So They're here this evening because the structure is approximately 3.5 feet from the rear property line where 10 feet is required, and a variance for the rear yard of roughly 6.5 feet is necessitated.
6.5 feet to the side yard?
To the rear yard, I'm sorry.
To the rear. Okay. All right, board members, questions for the applicant?
What would the side yard be? Any,
Sideboard.
It's over, yeah, it's over 20 feet on either side.
Yeah, it's centered on the property, so it's roughly 24 feet plus or minus on either side.
so it's only the back, that's the headache.
It's only the back.
Right. This above ground pool or in ground?
In ground.
Oh, I'm sorry, it was an in-ground.
Yeah, that's what it says on the survey, in ground. I'm just wondering which, and obviously you couldn't move that structure.
I mean, she could.
Well, anything, you can engineer anything, as they say. Right?
Yes, right.
Okay. Board members, any questions of the applicant?
This covering is over a patio flooring?
No. It's just over grass.
Wow, okay, okay.
It's over grass and it's got the 3 sides, right? The rear and two sides and a roof. And
Yes.
do you ever have any plans on closing that in and turning it into something other than what it is used for now?
No.
If the board were to act
It's too expensive.
Well, that wasn't the answer I was going to look for. So you don't have to add that. As part of the resolution, would you agree that it would only be used for that? It would never be enclosed. Do you have any electric in there?
No. No
And
electric.
You have no plumbing, correct?
No.
Okay. So would you agree as part of the resolution, if we were to approve this, that it would only be used for this? It would never be used for anything else other than this?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm saying you could put furniture in there and sit there. I'm just saying you wouldn't turn it into anything other than it's shade. It's for shade, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Mr. Clancy, we could make that happen, right? On the resolution if.
Yeah, so I think if I understand some of the board's concern, it's the idea that we're not going to, we would request that the applicant would not use this as living space in the future, right?
Right.
Yeah. Ma'am, are you agreeable to that? Should the board approve this?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
we can include that.
Okay, good. Well, let me go back to the board members because I don't know if we completed any further questions. Okay, I don't see any. Ms. Vesia, I'm going to open the public portion at this point. Okay, so I have to do that, and then we'll come back to you again. This is matter 13-2023Z, located 266 Utica Avenue. This is requiring a variance for an 18 by 18. I guess you would quote, not a sunroom, but it's an accessory structure that was built. It's open on the front and has a roof covering for shade. Anybody has any questions, there's phone numbers in front of you right now. You can call in to speak on behalf or against, or just have simple questions. Is anyone in queue at this point, Ms. Singh?
There are no raised hands.
Okay. We'll give it a little time once again, folks at home, if you're watching and you have any issues. This is located 266 Utica Avenue. This would be the only hearing on this matter for either an approval or disapproval, but one way or the other, the matter will be settled tonight. So now is the time to call, should you have any issues. Mr. Clancy, how do we stand?
Mr. Chairman, we've given it a little over a minute here, almost a minute and a half at this point. And, I don't believe there's any raised hands. I don't believe there's any phone calls. I think we can close the public portion if we can confirm that.
Okay, Ms. C, anybody in queue?
No.
All right, I'm going to close the public portion at this time. Thank you, Mr. Clancy. Ms. Vesey, is there any final comments?
No.
And as I said, you would agree if there was an approval that it would only remain as you're using it presently.
Yes.
It would be part of the resolution. So the approval, that would be part of the approval, I should say. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Would you like me to take a vote or call for a vote here?
Yes, please.
Okay. All right, absent any other questions, board members, I'm going to ask someone if they want to move this for approval.
Motion to approve,
Is
Scott.
there- Is there a second?
Izzo,
Izzo seconds, roll call, please.
Mr. Connor,
Yes.
Mr. Stoner,
Yes.
Mr. Scogno,
Yes.
Miss Andrews,
Yes.
Miss Testaverde,
Yes.
Mr. Izzo,
yes.
Chairman Sullivan.
Yes, Ms. Vacy, thank you for appearing. It's the lesson learned here is that it's easier to seek permission first rather than ask for forgiveness. So
Yes.
it's when you do home improvements, you can find all the information online that what you can do and what you can't do. So I wish you
Okay.
continued success with your backyard, and I'm sure it's lovely for your family. So best of luck.
Thank you so much.
You'll have the
Thank you very much.
resolution- The resolution will be in a few weeks. Okay, so it's not automatic. I mean, it's approved. It's just not written yet.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Thank you very
Thank you
much.
so much.
Okay, good night.
Okay. Good night.
All right. Board members, the next matter is 14-2023Z. That's Sabrina Gaudio Finn. This is low density R40 block 20000 lot 1 at 26 Pleasant Valley Road for a storage shed requiring a C variance. It says the applicant proposes to construct a storage shed in the rear yard of the property. Do we have Ms. Finn?
Yes,
Okay. Your last name is Gaudio, is that what it is?
that's my maiden name. So Finn is my married name.
Okay, Ms. Finn. Is there anybody other than yourself going to testify?
No, just me.
Okay, the board attorney will swear you in.
Ms. Finn, if you would just raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear that any testimony you provide before this board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay, you can lower your hand and just state your name once more for the record, please.
Sabrina Finn.
Thank you.
As I explained before, we would just like you to tell us what you're planning on doing on your property and why you're here tonight.
Okay, so basically, my family and I have lived in this house for about 6 years now, and our family is growing. So we have a bunch of muscle cars, vehicles, a pleasure boat, a son who will be growing up and having toys to play with. So basically, we'd like this storage building in the back of our property to just store all of these things. We have patio furniture, and we don't want any of these things to continue to get ruined by the weather.
How big is your property, man?
How big is my property?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, hold on one second. 100 feet wide.
Well, I wasn't trying
84
to
feet
accuse
long.
you. I meant the size of this building
Yes,
is bigger than your house, right?
it's 36 by 54.
Size
Size of the building bigger than the house.
And I don't know what you're going to plan on doing in there. I mean, that's an enormous, this is a pole barn, really, not a shed.
Right, yes. It's really just for storage. I mean, I have one, two, I can't even count how many cars we have because of my husband drag races. So we have a few vehicles. We have a pleasure boat, like lawnmower and everything like that. So that would be all for storage. There won't be any electricity or anything like that. It's straightforward, just for storage.
Could you describe what the doors are like on this proposed building?
Yes, I have. An overhang door, OH door frame out only. We're working with a Pioneer Pole Building, so they have everything written out here. I can read through it if you'd like. The 9x8 door frame out only. Entry door, in swing, 6-panel RH fiberglass insulated primed.
I just wanted to know how high the doors were and how wide.
Have
Like,
a
I'd just like you to
9x8
tell the board what the size of the doors are.
I'm trying to find where it says on here. I have just one 9x8 door.
That's
And then-
9x8? The one door?
I have a 10x10 residential classic raised short panel insulated, one 9x8 overhang door, frame out only, and one entry door, 3060 in swing, 6-panel RH fiberglass. Eaves overhang, 1 foot, gables overhang, 1 foot. That's all I have here in the plans as far
Okay, I
as.
mean, I have the plans in front of me as well. Let me just ask you this. Is this going to be used for mechanical purposes?
No, just storage.
You have a garage.
So
We already have a garage,
Any work will be done.
but it's not, there's not gonna be any work or anything. It's simply just storage.
Not the cars.
Okay, let's,
We have a lot of expensive cars.
let me see what Mr. Gill has to say, and then we'll go and see what the board has.
Thank
you.
Chairman, I had to switch devices. I just want to make sure you guys can hear me okay?
I can hear you fine, sir.
Okay. Just to clarify the schedule, there is a window and door schedule on the plans that call out a standard entry person door, which is 36 inches wide by 62. And then the doors are going to be 10x10 nominal opening and 9x8. So it's 10 foot wide, 10 foot high for the large door. There's a smaller door that's 9 foot wide, 8 foot tall. With regard to the property and the reason they're here this evening, as the applicant has stated, they're proposing a 54 by 36 square foot, 54 by 36 foot structure, which is roughly 1,944 square feet. It is a detached accessory structure where only a maximum of 600 square feet is permitted. So this is considerably larger than what the zone allows for, or what the zoning allows for accessory structures. When we prepared the denial letter, the plans that were provided to us didn't indicate a structure height. According to these plans that we reviewed here, the overall height of the structure is going to be 18 plus or minus feet. So there is a height variance also associated. The elevation drawings on page 2, I think, or page 1, depict that height of 8 inches to the ridge. So there is a size requirement. It's too large and then it's too tall. I didn't get an opportunity to really speak with the homeowner and be probative about their use, but certainly it's not uncommon for people to put large structures like this for their toys. I know that the board's general concerns with these types of structures is they're not used for businesses or other types of activities which are not residential in nature. We would mirror those concerns in the zoning office, and we would recommend that any favorable determination would have similar language. In terms of the lot area, Ms. Gaudio was speaking to the size of the lot initially. It is a substantial lot on Pleasant Valley. It's 100 foot wide by almost 400 feet long. I think it's 380 feet. So it is a large lot. There are no setback issues with regard to the sides or the rear. So it's really just the mass of the structure that we're dealing with, and then just general concerns about the use.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gill. Let's see if anybody else has any questions from the board.
Quick question.
Go ahead, Mr. Rizzo.
The size of your shed the size of your barn that you're trying to put up, you have the maximum usage. All your vehicles and toys would kind of max it out, or you'll have room left over.
We know they will.
No, they will definitely max it out.
Wow.
Yeah. So my father-in-law, my husband, they do drag race, so we do have muscle cars. My father-in-law used to own an engine shop in Brooklyn. So we have, so instead of having everything everywhere else, since we have the property, we would like to have everything all together here.
So then that means you would have to have an entrance to wheel in the vehicles and an exit.
Yes, so the larger door that Damien was,
Right, the 9x8.
yes, is facing our home, so we do have the space to, pull the cars and the boat in.
Anything else, Mr. Rizzo?
No, I'm good.
Mr. Gill, one door is 10 by 10 and one's not 9 by 8.
Correct, Chairman.
I have to ask why you need a 10-foot high door, 10 by 10. Door.
Oh, because we also have trailers, car trailers.
Car trailers, you mean that you would pull what on?
We go we go to races.
Spare
So we
engine.
put the Corvettes into the trailers to tow them to races.
What's the height of the trailers?
10 feet.
They're 10 foot. high.
Yes, they are. Yes.
So you're not going to make it then. It's going to be too small.
Well, hold on. My husband is on the phone and he knows the size of the trailer. If I can just 8.5 feet off the ground.
Is there any way to size this building down? I mean, you're literally, the building is bigger than your house in square footage.
Yes.
You're talking about almost, you have 1,944 square foot here and an 18-foot roof.
I didn't hear what you said.
I think that's
If there's
rather
any way
small.
to size it down. We'd have to go over the plans again with the building company.
Well, I'm only one vote. I don't know. I realize you have a large property. I realize you probably could put this to good use, but I kind of also fear that it's going to turn into a commercial.
We don't have any,
Well,
it's not gonna have electricity or anything like that. It's
you have to
just,
have lighting.
there's not planning on lighting at all. Because
No
we
light.
have a garage already,
All right.
2-car garage already.
Okay. I take you on your word on that. Is there any other board members that would wish to be heard on this?
Yeah, I have some questions. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you explain to me again, how many cars going back there? And did you set a boat?
Yes, we have a pleasure boat right now, yes.
Oh, how many
It's
cars?
Feet wide.
Nothing cars are gonna be back there in the boat.
So if I have to count, I have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have approximately 11 cars. I have my husband on the phone, so he knows how many cars. we
No,
have.
how many cars are going back there? That's what I need to know. How many cars are going in this?
Into the building. 9.
9 cars plus a boat. Right? Did you say a boat too?
Right.
It's a 19-foot boat.
Now, did you talk to your neighbors about this?
My husband, yes.
And your neighbors are okay with this?
I have him on the phone, so I'm trying to hear. Yeah.
John next door.
John next
Okay, we
door.
can't have other people testifying. You
Oh,
have
I'm
to
sorry.
Testify, okay?
I'm sorry. He's at work right now. That's why.
All right. Let Mr. Stoner continue on with his question.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was asking about the neighbors. Does the neighbor know about this massive building that you want to put up?
Yes, I mean, we sent out those, it was like the 200-foot list to all, to everyone that was on the list. We didn't hear back from anybody, but we did speak directly to our neighbor next door, John, who is the closest to us, and he was okay with it.
You have records of this? The list? Is that something that we have?
We do, yes.
So, okay, so as long as the neighbor's okay with this, I don't have a problem with it.
Okay. Let's see, we have received the notifications, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, because it's kind of unusual to have a building so big like this.
I agree.
And the only way I would, if one neighbor was to have a problem with it, then I would have a problem with it. But since they sent everything out, nobody came back complaining.
No one has come back to us and complained.
Then I'm okay with this.
Thank you, Mr. Stoner. It's a little rural where you are too, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
The depth of your backyard is probably heavily treed.
It's not tree, our backyard itself is not.
Well, I didn't mean the yard, the surrounding.
Yeah, yes, yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Mr. Connie, you had your hand up. Go ahead.
I did. I'm unmuted. Thank you. Will this facility, I hate to use that word, this building be seen from Pleasant Valley Road?
I don't
No.
believe so, no.
It'll be behind the existing garage
In the house.
And the house, yes, it's all
and
the
the
way,
house.
it's all the way at the back of our property, but within the limits of how many feet we have to be off the side and the rear of the property.
And then your driveway to this property is gravel or paved?
Right now it's gravel.
Okay, and you'll continue that gravel up into the new shed?
We can,
Okay, well, it'll be gravel or dirt.
or it's grass, right, exactly, dirt,
Right,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
And the trees on the side of your property, you don't have trees on your property. Are
No.
those trees above 18 feet?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, they're huge.
So
Very tall.
what I'm hearing from you, and I just want confirmation, is you will not see this shed from Pleasant Valley Road or either one of the adjoining neighbor's property.
No, we do, there is a neighbor behind us, but our property is fenced in,
I see that.
yes. But you will not see it for certain from the front, from Pleasant Valley Road.
And you also have a pool on your property, correct?
Yes,
Now, the entranceway into that pool is adequate to get a trailer in there?
yes,
And you mentioned prior to me that there will be 9 cars in the shed, 1 boat. How many trailers?
we have 2 trailers.
So in addition to the 9 cars, the 1 boat, you'll have 2 trailers under or in the shed.
Yes, possibly.
Sometimes the car goes.
If it fits, sometimes the cars do go into the trailer, like earlier. Like when we travel, like currently it is in the trailer.
Okay, so from what you said, you will not see the shed from the side, you will not see it from the front, but possibly from the back.
Correct.
How far will it be from the back property line?
I believe, I don't remember exactly what it was. I think we sent that in, Mr. Gill, if,
It looks like it's probably double the size, Jim, going back there from the survey.
I do not have that exact measurement, Mr. Connor, but I did want to tell you,
Okay.
it is approximately 50 to 60 feet from the rear
There's
property.
adequate space. I'm just
Yes.
looking at how they're 30 feet on each side, approximately.
yes, we are,
36 for the width of the shed. Okay. Thank you very much for your answers.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Connor.
Chairman,
Anybody else?
if I may jump in real quick,
Go ahead, Mr. Gill.
while I do have, general concerns, I won't say reservations, but general concerns about the size of the structure that I think mirror the board's concerns. I think it is important to note that we do not have in our ordinance a limitation on the amount of accessory structures that a person can have. So if someone wanted to have multiple sheds, they could theoretically do that. Now, I don't remember Ms. Finn, so please correct me if I'm mistaken, but I don't believe we had the conversation. But I have had conversations with other individuals in the more rural parts of town where they've wanted to do these large structures. And one of the things that we normally discuss is, well, what's your intention? What's your purpose? One of the things you could do is there is a get around. You can do several smaller structures. And in some instances that makes sense. I think given the size of this structure, they'd have to do 3 or 4 smaller but still large 600 square foot structures to accommodate that. And given the fact that there are residences on the sides, that's not something I would have recommended in this situation. I think this is probably a better alternative. And I knew that the board was going to try to elicit testimony to make sure that there wasn't going to be a business or some other type of activity that might have an impact or an adverse effect on the neighboring properties. And also to Mr. Connor's inquiries about the trees, I think it's a little bit of a stretch to say that you won't be able to see it from the adjacent properties because there are very mature and tall trees, but it's not super dense. And certainly when the foliage fills in, I was looking at some off-market photos of the yard from when the property was sold. There during the fall season, you're probably going to see this structure, but it is kind of centrally located on the lot and it is pretty set back far. And it's kind of in an open space that are adjacent to the others. Really, the only person who might actually be impacted is the gentleman or the homeowner that Ms. Finn was talking about that's to the rear. You can kind of see them in the foreground, in the background of some of the photographs. But again, that's 50 or 60 feet removed from the property line and then probably another 40 or 50 feet before you hit the house. So we're talking a distance of about 100 feet.
Thank you, Mr. Gill. Good, Mr. Connor? Okay. Anybody else?
I am good. I just have one additional item.
Go ahead.
We're going through a massive construction event on Route 9 by the ShopRite Fairway Lane. Every morning as you go up that road, and the reason I bring up the dirt, gravel, will it be dirt, will it be gravel? As I look at Pleasant Valley Road, could it be a Route 9 with dirt all over the road in the future? That was the purpose of my comment on, is there gravel or will it be dirt? Point made.
Thank you. And what was, what Ms. Finn, are you going to bring gravel so that you can avoid what Mr. Connor's talking about?
Right now, it's
Right now it's grass.
Well, I understand what it is. I'm saying, are you going to?
right now it's 200 feet of gravel.
Right now it's 200 feet of gravel.
Okay, hold on. I know there's another person there answering these questions. She can't speak because of the fact she's not under oath. So we can't elicit that testimony. All I want to know is, and maybe it would be in your best interest, if you could run a gravel roadway back to the other roadway.
Okay.
Because it would avoid tracking dirt, mud, etc., out onto Pleasant Valley Way, out onto 527, or wherever else you're going to be going.
I understand. Okay.
Okay, what?
Okay, we can do that. We will do that.
Okay, so you'll have a lane for the trailers and the motorhome and the boat that
Yes.
wouldn't be going through grass and mud.
Yes.
Okay, we'll make that part of the resolution if should we approve. Okay, so you have to agree to that if before we take a vote on that. Okay.
Okay.
If you need to confer with anybody, I'll give you a minute to do so. But just do it off camera and off air so we can't hear you.
Okay. No, I'm making the decision. It will be.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Anyone else wish to speak on this? Mr. Izzo, one more time, go ahead.
Yes, Gil, maybe you could help me out with this?
I will certainly try.
The structure containing all those race cars and a boat, that could be a lot of fuel. Is there any limit? Is there a capacity to how much fuel could be stored in the structure?
I don't want to overstep my expertise, zoning officer, but the structure will have to meet whatever the building code requires. And part of the consideration for building codes is fire protection and stuff like that with garages. So they're designed to a certain standard. Now, obviously, if they're dealing with race cars and dragsters and stuff like that, there may be some concerns about storage. So it might be advantageous to speak to the owner about that and see if they're planning to do that. It would obviously not be a good idea to store fuel other than what's in the car in an enclosure. And I think that would be a reasonable restriction to put on it. But no, I don't want to overstep and tell you that it will or won't be safe. We'll leave that to the building department.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
No, it's fine. It's a good question.
All right.
Where do you store the fuel now, Ms. Finn?
Right now they are in, some of the fuel is in the trailers. Yeah, they're in the trailers right now and the car itself.
The trailers are at present being stored outside.
Yes.
Okay, but now they're going to be stored inside.
Yes.
Where are you going to put the fuel?
Oh, like Can I come off camera for 2 seconds?
Yeah,
please?
go ahead.
Thank you very much.
Was it on there?
Chairman, if I may,
Go
if
ahead.
that's a concern for the board, if they don't have a reasonable response, it is something that I could, I don't know if we want to hold a vote, but it is something that I could check with the fire department to see if NFPA regulations or something have some guidance that we can kind of allude to make sure, because I think that's a really reasonable concern.
I do as well, and seeing as that's the purpose, I guess, I think we should take a look at that before
When we get to the track.
a decision. Ms. Testaverde.
I want to say, Mr. Izzo, that was exactly my concern also.
Okay.
The amount of vehicles and fuel, and is there any type of fire?
Extinguish. Yeah.
So I like your suggestion, Mr. Gill.
Yeah.
Ms. Finn, what did you want to tell me now?
So my husband said he buys fuel at the track.
Okay.
And then we use it while we're there.
Okay.
So there is no fuel storage. I'm not the one racing, so I
Okay.
don't.
What we're going to do, or what, at suggestion of the zoning officer, we're
Mhm.
going to have to check on the regulations on fuel. For that size building, we're not sure at this point.
Okay.
So we're going to have to probably carry this matter for another session before we take a vote on this, because we need to know that. It's a rather large building.
Right.
It's, almost 2,000 square foot, and I don't know the fire codes either. And we don't want to say something that's wrong, but I think in the best interest of the community, I think we have a responsibility to check on it.
Okay.
So while we're not trying to put you off, I think we do need to carry to the next meeting where we'll at least have the proper information. Because
Okay.
certainly it's a concern, and I'm sure it would be a concern of yours, as there are neighboring homes and your own home for that matter. And
Yes.
I
Yes.
assume your family is. So I think
Yeah.
it's a grave concern that we would like to check into, if that's okay with you.
Yes, of course.
All right,
Chairman,
Mr. Gill.
if I may ask a question of the applicant, just to make sure that I get us the right information.
Right.
So, Ms. Finn, pursuant to the conversation you had with your husband, and I understood that that's generally the case, drag fuel and stuff like that can go bad pretty quickly. So you guys tend to use it there. But it's my understanding then the only fuel you guys intend to store is the fuel that would normally be contained within the vehicles that you store in there, whatever they are. You
Right.
would not be having any storage containers, anything beside the normal stuff you might see for your lawn equipment and stuff like that. So there's no proposed storage tanks where you guys
No.
are storing fuel on the inside of the structure. All right,
No.
so I'll, within that framework, I'll check with our Fire Prevention Bureau and with our fire subcode, and then I'll get something back to our board,
Thank you.
to you in advance of the meeting.
All right.
Thank you, Chairman.
I'm going to see if anybody else has any questions. Then I'm going to have to open a public portion on this matter, Ms. Vince. So,
Okay.
board members, anyone, Mr. Clancy, anything?
So I just want to, kind of round up some of the concerns that I've heard here and what I feel like we're starting to work on for conditions. It looks like from what I've heard from the board that the applicant so far is agreeing to put in a 200-foot gravel driveway from a point at the front of the building, or I should say the front of the property, to this new structure that's going to be built, which is approximately 200 feet long, according to what the applicant said. And that would be to help mitigate some of the tracking in and out of dirt onto the public roadway there. So that's a condition. We're still in the midst of investigating the fuel storage. The other conditions I had was that this would not be there were no commercial uses at this facility, and also I don't know if we actually specifically brought it out. It was addressed by some people, but that this would not be converted or used as living space. Does that sound correct?
That is correct.
So if the board, as we move forward to the final hearing on this, would those be conditions that you would be agreeing to at this point?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Scogno, you had your hand up. Go ahead, sir.
Oh, yes. Across the street from you, there's a company, is that correct?
There's an air conditioning company across the street from us, Arctic Air.
They have, oh, Arctic Air.
Yes.
Do they have a bond similar to what you're thinking about putting up?
No,
Mhm.
that's,
Okay,
yeah,
thank you.
that's it.
thank you.
Okay, anybody else before I go to public portion? Board members? Okay. This is matter 14-2023. The location is 26 Pleasant Valley Road for a pole barn. If you have questions or comments, there's phone numbers that are placed up on the screen right now. We would ask you to please call on one of those numbers for any comments you want to make personally to the board. Is anyone in queue, Ms. C?
There are no raised hands.
Okay, we'll give it a little time. This would be, there will be another hearing on this matter because there are some things that we have to check on for public safety purposes. So if you don't call in tonight and you do have some concerns, this matter will be scheduled for another hearing on a continuance. Anybody call in?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. All right, Mr. Clancy, seeing as we are going to have another a continuing hearing, we can probably, or it's safe to close the public portion for tonight.
Agreed.
Okay, thank you. Anything you want to say to us in closing? Once again, we're going to have to reschedule this because for public safety interests, we're going to have to just check on some facts. We are volunteers from the township, and while we have some knowledge of zoning, we don't know everything. And we don't pretend to. So in the best interest of the public, we're going to have to check. Okay.
Yes.
It's nothing personal, but we just want to make sure we get it right.
Nothing.
For your
personal.
safety and for the other people.
I understand. I appreciate it.
Okay, Ms. C, what would the next schedule date be?
We can carry this to May 18th
May
without
18th.
further notice.
Okay,
Okay.
so that's just down the block a couple of weeks. So we'll have our information by then. You will not have to re-notify anyone in the 200.
Okay.
So all you have to do is if you need to find out any information, please do. If there's anything you want to further inform us at the next hearing, please, take those notes and please do so. And we'll talk about this again, May 18th, okay?
Okay, very good.
If
Thank
you're
you.
watching at home, there's not going to be any further notice on this. If you have an issue, we'll be on our agenda, May 18th, no further notice. Thank you very much for coming in and, well, thank you very much for being on Zoom tonight with us.
Thank you. Have a good
All right.
evening.
Okay, ma'am, thank you.
Okay.
All right, we'll move on to the next one, 3-2023. This is Patricia Brush. This is low density, severe environmental constraints residential R120. This is block 24001, lot 12.11, 4009 Englishtown Road, pole barn. Applicant proposes to construct a pole barn in the side yard of their property. I see Miss Brush up in the top.
Yes, I'm here.
Are you going to be the only one to testify, or is the
Oh,
gentleman?
my husband Chris is here as well.
Okay, how about if the board attorney swears you both in, all right?
Sure.
All right, can both of you raise your right hand, please?
Sure.
You solemnly swear that any testimony you provide before this board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. Yes.
Okay, can lower your hands and one at a time, just say your names for the record.
My name is Patricia Brush Allen.
I'm Christopher Allen.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Clancy. Okay, similar, I guess you're putting up a pole barn, right? Or you want to?
Yes.
Why don't you just tell the board what you're going to do, how you're going to do it? And we obviously have the records of.
Well, it's basically
what you
it's basically a pole barn that's going to be used for a workshop. We also have race cars. We don't have 9. We have vintage cars as well. We actually have more vintage cars than we do have regular race cars.
And farm equipment.
We also have several tractors because we do have 15 acres and we do, need the tractor to mow it and to keep it neat. And, we need a place to work on that kind of stuff.
Okay, and the size of the barn?
It's
40 by 100.
I'm sorry?
It's
40 by 100.
40 by 100, okay? Anything else you want to tell us about it? It's going to be, where it's going to be situated, out of sight?
Pretty much in the middle of the property. We have a total of 15 acres. The farm is 12 acres. It'll be situated on the farm.
Okay. Mr. Gill?
Thank you, Chairman. I have nothing. No, I'm just kidding. I met with Mr. Allen and Ms. Brush several times. So we've actually had a couple of meetings regarding this property and what their desire was. The reason the applicant is here is that very similar to the last application, the applicant is proposing a height and size deficiency. The applicant is proposing a structure which is roughly 4,000 square feet. There is a maximum of 600 square feet, and I don't have the height written here. I'm looking to see if there's something on the application. I do apologize. But the height was called, it's a 23-foot high building where, again, 15 feet is required. Now, this property is a little unique because it is a farm assessed property. There is a farming component to it. While it's not, I don't think we can play with terminology. I would be reticent to say that it is a commercial farm. I believe the Allens and Ms. Brush, or Mr. Allen, Ms. Brush, do call it a hobby farm. So there is a size component to this property. There is an element of it. I didn't hear exactly their testimony. I was a little distracted. I apologize. I know that they were planning to use it for some personal stuff, but there was also some farming elements that may be a part of their use and operation. And one of the things that we explored was whether or not it would be appropriate for them to seek a not a farmland preservation, but like a farmland assessment and right to farm assessment with an agricultural management plan, which would basically trump local zoning to accomplish this structure. This is not a contentious situation. That's normally in place. Those types of programs are in place for municipalities that are very pro-development and are eating up farms left and right. Since Old Bridge is not something that's typically a problem with, there's not a lot of preserved or agriculturally managed plans through the county or the state. So this property, like many others, has just existed as a farm and as a farmstead with the home. So the applicant is seeking that relief. They can make the structure smaller, but I don't know that anything smaller would meet their purposes. And because there is a farming component, we really don't have the same concerns about, and because of the size of the lot, we don't have the same concerns about it being used commercially or being used as part of the farm process. And that's why they're here this evening.
The plan says 16 on the height.
Is it 16? I've read something just
40,
now.
40 by 100 by 16.
It does say 16. It does say 16 on the height, which would still be over the height limit.
Yeah.
But when I'm looking at the bulk requirements, because I did see that as we was looking through it.
Right.
When I looked at the application, however, the application does list the height at 23 proposed. So I wanted to assume conservatively so that the board looks at it in the most conservative light. So that if it winds up being 16, the board didn't underestimate the height. They overestimated, if anything. So if the applicant wants to clarify the height, I think that might be a good idea.
It's 16 foot on the wall and it's 23 to the point.
There you go.
Okay.
So, and we measure to the height. So the appropriate height is 23 feet.
Yeah. Okay.
That's all I have, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Gill. Questions from the board? Obviously, I would have the same question as the previous. Do you store a lot of fuel, or would you be storing fuel in this at all?
No, not at all.
Anything you use is probably off.
Just for like the lawn mowers,
Yeah.
the weed whackers. As the woman said before, basically they pick up their gasoline at the racetrack, and whatever they use, it's minimal what's left by the end of the night.
Okay, and for your purposes, you wouldn't have storage tanks or anything?
No.
Okay, obviously you're gonna have electricity, I would assume, right?
Yes.
Plumbing?
Not right now, no. There's no plans for that.
Mr. Gill, would that be better to do all at once if that was? There should be no problem with them running plumbing, right?
I don't think that there's a problem with plumbing. I would be concerned, as I think the board would be, about it becoming living space. I know that they've made no indication that
Right.
that would be the impression. So I would likely put that restriction or condition any favorable approval on a condition to that effect. But I don't see the benefit for a structure like this in this configuration having plumbing.
I mean, just to like run a garden hose on the side of the house and on the side, that would be the only need for plumbing.
Well, sometimes these structures will have bathrooms because they're
Right.
structure. They may have, so the concern is that they could become living space.
Right.
So I think that's generally what the board is looking for.
But it wouldn't be totally prohibited, would it, Mr. Gill or Mr. Clancy?
It's never prohibited.
Right.
There isn't, the code is silent to that.
Right.
And I think the board has always taken, and I think the zoning office is always taking a conservative approach to that. Because, one could argue that if it's not expressly permitted, it is prohibited. But this, we're not talking about use, we're talking about the type of utilities that a structure can take.
Right.
And in a residential setting, the propensity to convert it to living space or guest housing is just very great. A situation like this wouldn't be as concerned because of the type.
Yeah, and the location too, I would think.
Yeah, and the location, it's set back pretty far on 12 acres.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Clancy, we would be right in our opinions there, right?
Yeah, that sounds correct to me.
Okay. So if you did, I don't think there would be a necessity for them to come back anyway, even if, but I'm certain you're going to want to have electricity so you can see them.
Yeah, we have a plan for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
The only way, Chairman, just to clarify now that I understand where you were going with that,
Yeah.
the only way that I would send them back to the board for plumbing is if they were doing something that, in my opinion, changed the character of the use, or if the board specifically put a prohibition, because the board does often put those types of prohibitions.
Right. This is basically for some storage and farm use, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Questions from other members of the board? Mr. Connor.
Along the lines of the water and sewer, is it township water and sewer? Or is
No.
it,
No.
It's well water and septic.
yeah, as I suspected. I just wanted you to make that point to us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anybody else from the board? Bill? Okay. Anything else you want to tell us at this point, Mr. and Mrs. Brush?
No, we're
No.
good.
Okay. I'm going to go to a public portion on this matter, okay? This is 3-2023Z. The location here is 4009 Englishtown Road for a pole barn. I guess it's a 4,000-foot structure, which would be over by height and by size. But I take it this is really considered a farm home and property, and I think it was 13 or 14 acres. If you want to be heard in this matter, the phone numbers are now in front of you and whatever device you're watching us on. Please call in now. This matter probably will be attended to this evening and come to a finality one way or another. So if you have a question or concern, now would be the time to call. Is there anyone in queue, Missy?
There are no raised hands.
Okay. We'll just give it a little time and then we'll get back to any final comments. Anything further, Missy?
No.
No, Mr. Clancy?
I think we're safe to close the public portion.
All right, thank you, sir. We will close the public portion. Any final comments from the Brushes that you'd like to say before we, I'm assuming you're going to want me to call for a vote, correct?
That would be nice, yes.
We're excited to get started.
We would like to get started. This is a long process.
I understand. I see this a little different than the other situation personally, the size of your property and I, obviously it's a farming area with what you're using probably the most of this building for. So,
And we have no neighbors, so.
yeah.
We already have the gravel road
Right,
that goes to it, so.
And I kind of doubt anybody would want to live in a 4,000 square foot open building with a 20.
Not really. I don't really plan on doing that, so.
And obviously you've gone on the record by saying that that's not going to happen. It's not going to be
No,
turned into living.
That's not our
space
plans at all, no.
of Any sort. Okay.
So, Mr. Chairman, my understanding so far is, of the board's concerns for any conditions on this, if it gets put forth for a vote, would be that the applicant would agree that there be no fuel storage in the facility, that there would be no there's no plumbing that's going to be added to this facility, that the facility would not be used as a living space, and also that it is not going to be used for commercial use. Those were the restrictions that I have here.
Right. But commercial use by outsiders, I guess, is what we would, you use it commercially for farming, right? Mr. and Mrs. Brush?
Well, it's
Well-
not a commercial
Well-
farm.
Well,
We're not a commercial
yes,
farm,
but we
but
use-
well,
we use it, like
50 At least 50% of it's
Yeah.
gonna be for the farm.
I have bees and I have to spin my honey somewhere, so that's where we're gonna have a room just for that.
okay.
That's
But,
quite the mess sometimes.
okay, would be safe to say you're not going to rent out space.
Oh, no, not at all.
Personal
We
use.
need all
only.
the space to ourselves.
Okay, we can
I
make
wanted
that
to
part of
build it
this
bigger.
guarantee. Right? There'll be no
Yeah, we
renting,
can. I
renting.
think
of-
I think the condition, like, not for commercial use and not for rent, I
Right.
guess, because it sounds to me like what they represented is exactly what Mr. Gill alluded to. This is a hobby farm. Any kind of uses there really wouldn't be commercial. It's like a personal farming
Right.
setup, it sounds like to me.
Okay. But they wouldn't lease out storage, they wouldn't lease out any space within.
No, that's too precious to us. We can't.
Okay.
Okay, we'll include that, Mr. Chairman.
That's good. All right, and what we have here is oversized 600, what's the, it's 600 feet, isn't it, Mr. Gill? For the size, and we're at 4,000. You're muted, Damien. On the variance, oh, okay. Hold on.
I apologize, Chairman.
That's okay.
I'm working on an Apple, and that's not really my strong suit.
Okay.
I hit a button and everything disappeared.
Okay.
What was the question, Chairman?
For our variance, this is there's two variances, right? We have the height and the size of this building, right?
Correct. The overall size of the structure and the height, 4,000 square feet.
Right.
And 23-foot overall height.
Right. Okay, board members, we understand that. That's what variances are. Someone be in favor of moving this?
Motion to.
Connor, motion to approve.
Okay, it's Mr. Scogno and Mr. Connor. Roll call, please.
Mr. Connor,
Yes.
Mr. Stoner,
Yes.
Mr. Scogno,
Yes.
Ms. Andrews,
Yes.
Ms. Testaverde,
Yes,
Mr. Izzo,
Yes.
Chairman Sullivan.
Yes. There'll be a resolution for you probably by the next meeting, okay?
Thank you.
It's been approved.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So when can we start?
You have to check building permits, right, Mr. Gill?
That's correct. They're going to
Yeah.
need construction permits, and it'll go through the normal plan review process.
Right. Just make sure you follow that procedure.
Okay, great.
They'll tell you what you can and can't.
We can
Thank
have
you so much.
Thank you so much.
Question.
Bye.
Good luck on your project.
Thank you.
Good night. All right, we're on the home stretch here. We have one left. This is 19-2023Z. Wazim Siraj. This is low density residential R20, block 24100, lot 2, 11 Farragut Lane. This is for a deck relief. It says applicant seeking relief for an existing deck requiring C variance. Is Mr. Siraj here?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Oh, I see you now. Okay, sir. Anyone else besides yourself going to testify?
That's only me.
Mr. Clancy will swear you in.
Sure.
Yes. Good evening, sir. Can you raise your right hand for me, please?
Sure.
Do you swear that any testimony you provide before this board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay. Can you lower your hand and just state your name for the record?
Wasim Siraj.
Okay. Mr. Cameron?
Thank you. As in similar fashion, sir, you've been sitting here watching us. Just you could explain to the board what's going on there on your property. I know there's a deck there that I guess is violating setback, I think. So why don't you tell us what happened and where we're at now?
Since I bought the house, it's the backyard is always slanted, so I cannot get my kids out. Now they grew up, but I always think I'd like want to straighten it out somehow. But the slant is too much, and you always tilt it when you run and stuff. So it's always dangerous. So finally, I got a chance. I took my 2 weeks off in 2017. And build this deck. And so it's straight up 4 feet, just for my family and myself to enjoy summer.
Understood. I know that there was an engineering report given with this as well, Mr. Gill. I know that's not really necessarily the concern of the board.
Yeah, Chairman, the reason that a engineering report was made was because we do have an ordinance that deals with structures constructed within 50 feet of a steep slope.
Right.
And as the survey indicates, he has a pretty, I don't want to say substantial, but he has a moderate to substantial decrease in the grade as you go back to the property. When you hit the wood line, as he was describing, the property basically drops off. And one of the things that's important, like you said, not necessarily for the board, but the board does have to take notice of, is that there isn't an engineering concern with any improvement that might undermine the grading there or cause an erosion problem or something like that. So that's one of the reasons we got the report. The reason we're here really is the applicant has constructed this deck 39 by 17. It's approximately 5 foot high on the one side. 2.5 feet approximately from the side yard, where a minimum of 10 foot is required. So it's too close to the side property line. As you look on the survey, he built it in line with the home. This is a development that was developed with alternate design standards, commonly referred to as patio home dwellings, where it's a single family detached, but the home is built, pretty substantially to one side. And then you have a larger side yard on the other side. So in building it, he was building it in line with the house, thinking, I guess it was, that if the house is okay to be there, then the deck should be fine. But the reality is there are separate standards for deck, and it wasn't part of the original approval and the development approval, so that it didn't contemplate that. And he's here for that relief this evening.
Thank you. And that's understandable if you, board members, if you've taken a look at the survey. Mr. Siraj, is that exactly what you did? You built it right in line with the house?
It's as the gentleman mentioned, it's like 3.5 feet. If I'm looking at my house in front, my right side is okay. My backyard is backside is okay. The right side, we're having an issue. But my neighbors are okay with it.
Is there a fence in between you and your neighbor?
On my left side is a fence. On the right side, no.
And when you're saying the right side, how are you looking at the right side? Are you looking at it from?
So when you say fence, so it's not going. So I have a fence in front, like on my backyard, going all the way. Just covering as much as I can. But if I talk about the side, if you facing my house from 11 Farragut Lane,
right,
the left neighbor has the fence, and the right side, last house of mine, we don't share. We don't have any fence on the right side.
Mr. Gill, is it short on the fence side, or is it short on the other side?
It's. I was going to clarify. It is short on the no fence side. So
okay.
The side that he's closest to the property line,
right,
it's open to the yard there and to the common space behind.
All right. Okay. Board members, questions to the applicant? Is there shrubbery or anything in between you and the neighbor, sir?
No.
No.
We have a good relation. I mean, before Alicia, next to the last house we have Ed. We decided we're not gonna, share the fence, so it's open for everybody. They are his kid and mine, and same thing with Alicia when Ed moves. So we didn't.
Has anyone, since you did this, you said a couple years ago?
Yes.
Has anybody made a complaint about it being too close to the
Not at
property?
No,
Okay.
not at all.
They know it's there. It's not like it's hidden, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
All right. Board members, questions, the applicant? Mr. Scogno.
Mr. Gill, why was this brought up? It's an existing deck.
Chairman, I believe, I'm gonna need Mr. Siraj to.
So it's an existing deck.
I believe
just-
he applied for an application for a deck, when he built it several years ago. It was flagged and we denied it because of the setback. And it continued the plan review phase and then went into our pending drawer. So what brought it up was approximately 5-6 months ago, the building department began closing out permits that have been stale, that haven't proceeded. We pulled all these permits that were never issued, and inspectors have been going out and saying, hey, has this work been done? If it has, we're going to deal with it. And if it hasn't, we're going to throw these files away and void them out. This was a job where he applied for the permit, we flagged it, some communication must have failed at some point, or, time was removed and the structure was built. And we discovered it when we started clearing out our files. So when we discovered it, we brought it to his attention. He immediately came in to resolve the issue. That's generally what happened, right, Mr. Siraj?
Exactly. Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, so he came in to rectify the issue and we explained to him what the deficiency was.
Okay, thank you.
No
Anybody
problem,
anybody else from the board? Mr. Clancy, anything?
No, I think we've covered the ground here.
I don't have any particular problem with it, particularly, I'm assuming that the neighbor, you're going to be there for a while and your neighbor's going to be there for a while. And I guess if somebody comes in, moves in further down the line, it's not, you're 2.5 feet. You're supposed to be 5, or is it 10? I'm sorry. Is it 10, Damien?
10 feet.
Yeah.
10 feet.
So-
And he's approximately 3.5.
Yeah, you're short, but maybe, I don't know.
Oh, no, 2.5, I'm sorry.
Yeah, 2.5. I don't think anybody's probably going to make an issue out of it one way or the other.
Mr. Siraj, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, when you look at this deck, because it's in line with the house, it doesn't look out of character
Right.
when you're viewing it. Is that fair to say?
It is, because that's why I asked him that question. Did he purposely do that to line it up? And it looks like he did.
Okay, I think we're all on the same page.
I think so. Yeah, I think so too. Mr. Siraj, I'm going to go to a public portion on this, okay?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Once again, this is 11 Farragut Lane for a deck that's short on a setback on one side of the home. It's at 5 where, what do we have? 5 where 10 is required. There's phone numbers up in front of you. If you're watching us on any device, please call if you have any concern or questions on this matter. This matter will ultimately be decided tonight, so there won't be another time for you to call. So now would be the time. Is anyone in queue, Ms. C?
There are no raised hands.
Okay, we'll give it a little time. While I'm at it, Damien, the engineering report is just a matter of, continues to be a matter of part of the record, correct?
That's correct. It's just
Okay.
a jurisdiction that a professional has looked at it and said that it's
Right.
not going to affect the law.
Right. Thanks. I don't know if anybody heard that. That's my parrot who just said hello. So I think he wants to call in. Oh, now he's mad. Okay, do we have anybody in queue?
No, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Mr. Clancy,
I think we're safe to close the public portion at this point, Mr. Chairman.
thank you very much. We're going to close the public portion. Board members, any final questions? None. Mr. Siraj, do you have any final comments?
No.
Okay, it seems pretty straightforward. Would you like me to call for a vote?
Yes, please.
Absolutely. Board members, this full setback on the one side, that's the only issue here. It's short on the one side of the property. Someone interested in moving this for approval for the setback?
Motion to approve, Scogno.
Okay.
Andrews, second.
Who was it? Miss Andrews, was that you? Okay.
A second.
Yes,
Second
okay,
vote.
roll call, please.
Mr. Connor,
Yes.
Mr. Stoner,
Yes.
Mr. Scogno,
Yes.
Miss Andrews,
Yes.
Miss Testaverde,
Yes.
Mr. Izzo,
Yes.
Chairman Sullivan.
Yes, Mr. Suresh, thank you for appearing before the board. You have received an approval. The written resolution will be forthcoming.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody.
Good night, sir.
Good night.
Board, that finishes our business other than general public comments. And if you have any general public comments, I would ask you to call in right now. Could you place that up again one more time? We will be glad to accept your call. And in the meantime, is there anything, Ms. C, that you want to notify the board about? Next meeting will be
The next meeting is May 4th, and that is in person.
May 4th is in person. How does the agenda look that evening?
Pretty busy, per
Okay.
usual.
All right, let's hope all the board members can make that. Also, we have anything from the legal end, Mr. Clancy, on that side?
I don't think we have anything to report. Made good progress tonight. Looks like we'll have 4 resolutions ready for probably the next C variance meeting, I guess, to read into the record as approved tonight. So.
Okay, thank you very much for your counsel this evening.
Thank you.
Board members individually, does anybody have any comments that they want to make before we call for an adjournment here? Okay, I don't see any hands. Has anyone called in?
No, Mr. Chairman.
All right, I'm going to close the general public comments portion of the meeting. And then finally, now I can see the whole screen. If you, any last comments before we recess? None? Okay. I'm going to call for an adjournment. We will reconvene on May 4th, live in the Township Courtroom. Someone move for recess, please. For adjournment, I should say, not recess.
Testaverde, move.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. We stand adjourned. Have a very happy weekend, everyone.
Good night.
Take care.
Good night.
Good night.
Recording stopped.